I'm good, right?
Yeah, you're good, Jim. We hear you. See you.
All right.
Okay. The September meeting of the Board of Water Commissioners is hereby called to order. Reading of the minutes of previous meeting.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
Before we jump that quick, I got one question. And it has to do with the drought stuff. The lake is down 4.4 feet from normal capacity. Should it be construction elevation? Can we make that change then?
From normal construction.
Well, from construction elevation capacity, as opposed to normal. Take normal out. We put construction elevation capacity. Okay. Okay, so I got a motion and a second to accept the minutes with one modification.
Okay.
Okay. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Carrie, thank you. We'll hold off the presentation of bills and accounts. So Patrick finishes looking at that. Drought emergency or drought update?
All right, so we are currently at 1090.8. September's been a good month so far. We're not free and clear yet, but we're doing better than we were.
What do we get so far to date in September?
We got 3.98 over Labor Day weekend, another half an inch the last day or so, day and a half.
Oh, about 4.5.
Yeah, so we've almost doubled August already. 1090.8 is where we were 29 days ago. So essentially we recovered
Whole month's worth.
29 days. However, we've got 4.67 inches of rainfall in September, where we had the 241 in August. We've had 7 days without any drop at Cooper Lake at all. We've actually gone up a little bit even after the Labor Day storm came and went. So that was a positive. We have Reservoir 4 pumping. That started on September 1st. We did a week and a half of about estimating 400,000 or so coming out of Reservoir 4. We cut Cooper Lake by about 600,000 so far, and we've recently had to increase Reservoir 4 to about 600. So that is working quite well. Actually, Reservoir 4 is 10 inches to a foot higher now today than it was when we started pumping it. Between the rainfall and the rain helped, it washed a lot of the stuff out over the spillway. So we did have some taste and odor issues in the city.
Yeah,
So
some complaints about color.
Yeah, there's a little
Cloudiness.
discoloration. So source is a different source, and we're mixing it with Cooper Lake. But it has helped Cooper Lake elevation quite a bit because we've had 7 straight days without any drop at Cooper Lake, and that is partially attributed to the weather, but also we've decreased the amount coming out of Cooper Lake by a fair amount. So with the current elevation at Cooper and assuming no more rainfall, we can go through without pumping out of Cooper into early November. We have enough water in Cooper with pumping to go into March.
That
Without any rain.
Well,
If you assume 0 rainfall, that's what we have currently in Cooper Lake
Cooper Lake is good till March
with a pump run.
with
At some point, we would have to start pumping it.
pumping it from
into the intake tower.
Okay.
What did you say, Jim?
Below the basin.
Oh, okay.
I got that hump in the middle. I get over the hump and then into the town.
Okay.
So we're still buying water from the town of Ulster.
We are, yes. So we're getting, I think the average for August was 109. I put it in the superintendent's report. I think it was 109,000 a day on average.
Yeah.
And I don't have the average offhand since September 1st, but
It's less.
I know we were all for most of Labor Day into Tuesday, so we're having some issues there, so,
So who controls, do they control that?
well, they send us what they can.
Ken?
So I mean, they can't send it on the weekends, they have to wait for the wells to recover, they're dropping, so. There's not much, they're doing what they can, they're sending us what they can send us.
I guess at what point in time do we make a decision that we no longer need to buy whatever they can provide? I mean, do we have something we're looking for?
I guess to get closer to 1096. We're still 5.2 feet lower than we can be. A couple more storms like that, I mean, we gained over a foot since September 1st. Actually, no, we gained exactly a foot since September 1st.
And 1096 is what we,
That's our construction.
construction
by
level.
contract, yeah.
So another 5 feet, basically. We came up, what, 1 foot from
Since September 1st, yeah. The Chocan pipe is being used. Most of Basin Road is complete with the exception of, there's one driveway crossing. They're gonna come back and do those and have the other crew running. We're waiting on a piece for the third fusing machine and they're gonna get third crew running as well. So it'll be three crews fusing, one for driveway crossings.
So how,
They're up to
what
about 20,
percentage of that line do you think has been done? Or needs to be done?
30% maybe,
30%,
30%, but
30% has been done.
has been fused and it's on the ground.
Okay.
So they're up to about 20, they're up to 28 right now from Basin Road or Dyke Road, whatever it is referred to as.
So when is that projected to finish?
They're still saying November. I'm hoping they're being conservative and it could be sooner.
Okay.
But I'm also hoping we get more rain and we keep going towards 1096 and
Yeah.
that's the best case scenario.
Mhm.
But we want to be prepared if it starts to drop again.
And then also for the future. If, I think once we have the construction finished on for Lake, then there are plans because, our plans for Cooper Lake, hopefully we won't have this type of scenario again. I think it being in the combination of under construction and then.
Well, yeah, but we're starting 10 feet
Yeah.
below
Exactly.
normal, so I mean,
So-
we had it. We would have had that 10 feet to play with.
Mhm.
Plus your
Yeah.
cone section. Shape like this, the higher you go up, the more water volume. at the top.
Yes, exactly.
Cone shape.
Yeah.
So we were in this predicament.
Mhm. But it had to be
Now
done.
they want to pour it back.
Exactly.
Doing the best we can right now. Very well.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So one thing to bring up is the barge for the Chocan. Now, CDM's telling me from the time we say go to the time it's ready to go, for the time for startup, we're talking 5 weeks. At some point, I'm gonna have to give the contractor to go ahead and start that and make sure it's ready to go when they're ready to start it up. We're looking at $400,000 for that. That was one of the bid items in the original, in the Thales bid.
How much?
400,000. To furnish and prepare the barge for the Chocan pumping.
So. Guess I would suggest we hold off a little bit on you or not.
Could we, before answering that, I mean, I think when we met with DEP, they had suggested, the potential of, not using a barge.
They did, but I believe they've reviewed the shop drawing since then. So that's another, I can talk to CDM about that as well, if that changes anything.
What was the alternative? Just running a line in with a pump on land? I mean, that was kind of where I thought we were going from the beginning, and not that I was looking at drawings. But
Why don't they think that's going to work? Why do they think we need the barge?
Because the water So receive, that was the original design, as water recedes, this will, which, I mean, there's definitely alternatives that we could do. What that would look like for Dale, and I have to find out where they are along the line, we're preparing for this barge and pumping that way.
Okay,
So they have to redo all their shop drawing, probably a change order of some kind.
Now, Matt, will this matter if it's into the winter months, like December, January, working on the reservoir at all, the Ashokan, putting pumps in and barges and everything like that?
Well, if we need it, hopefully we can get to it. If we start it up in the winter, there's probably not gonna be shutting it down. Because once that temporary pipe has water in it, we can't let it have water sitting in it, that's not flowing.
Exactly. But you need to get the barge in there before the water freezes also, right? If you're gonna use a barge,
Yes,
read a line with a pump on it.
yeah,
It
I
could
don't know.
freeze in December, January, and if you're ready in November and you're gonna wait a while, you all of a sudden you're in December waiting, and decide in January you need water, you're gonna be behind the curve a little bit, I'm thinking.
no, I think we need to make a decision by next month or November the latest. All right,
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'll go. The pipeline could be ready, it's going to be ready at some time in November. So if we wait till the pipeline is completely fused, then we gotta wait another 5 weeks, we wait till it's complete, so
but if we don't need it also,
yes,
I'll have to spend 400,000.
very true.
And if we get some rain. You said we have a lot, we've actually gained since the last
Again, yeah.
2 weeks, September
I don't know
1st.
what it's gonna look like, it's hard to
Right.
say,
Well,
it's
that's where
gonna
I
start
mean-
going down, and
I think we have to make those decisions when,
we want it to be as high as it can be before winter comes, because then we'll have a whole new set of problems.
Okay.
Because usually, it freezes and then there's water below the intake, it freezes at 1087.
Okay.
We have a lot less play there with the water.
I think if I remember correctly, one of the things that they talked about was that normally the benefit of the barge was that as the water levels in the Ashokan receded, the barge would go with it. But because of some of the work that DEP is doing, I think that they're telling us that the east basin where this would connect has more water in it this year than normal. And they've actually been keeping the east basin full, where the west basin looks dry, and that's where the pictures that everybody.
Yeah, right.
But east basin is actually full. And so that would be a benefit to us potentially of using an actual just a pipeline, because the water is so close.
right, I mean, I took a ride up there a month ago or more, and I saw all those pictures on Facebook or whatever, or online, and it looked horrendous. I went in and saw the lower basin and it looked perfectly full, so that's where we pull out.
Well, I can talk to CDM and see what that would entail if they have to change all their shop drawings and resubmit DEP.
Okay. Well, it almost sounded like it was a request from DEP though, right?
But they basically said that, that my sense was is that, there may be kind of the official process that we would be going through with DEP, but in an emergency, we obviously could hook up a pump and a pipeline to the reservoir at any moment, like within 24 hours, right? If we're out of water tomorrow, they would work with us to
Get us water.
get us water. Well, we have, whether it's, we have an electric hookup up there, great. If not, I mean, we'd have to do what we'd have to do, to pump water out of the reservoir. I mean, so we were talking to people at DEP and the management level, and of course, they're willing to work with us and whatever they need to do. CDM is working with their engineers at the ground level, and so sometimes they don't always communicate, and so I think that we have the flexibility of, depending on what we think would be best for the water department, to then advocate to DEP one way or the other, whether if we feel like there's some cost savings for us and also some maybe a quicker response time for us, if we don't have to, plan 5 weeks out, and then we could plan, 2 weeks out, and just be able to turn on a pump and lay a pipe. I mean, we could.
Is the electrical done there too?
It is not, we're waiting on Central Hudson, and I've actually reached out to a contact from one of the solar companies that works with Central Hudson quite a bit, we're trying to get this moving, so there's been a work order to get the pole moved.
Again, there's,
So but it's hard to find.
You get a
somebody
barge and a
else.
pump and a pipe there, but there's no power, then
So we're waiting on Central Hudson on that. We have that request, so
I guess
an email has been sent from my contact. I don't know if you have any contact at Central Hudson that we need to,
Yeah.
but I have the job number, I can send it to you.
Yeah. that'd be good.
Because they're moving the pole that we were going to use, so they don't want to put the transformer until they move their poles. Because then they have to do it twice.
Matt, when can we start filling our reservoir up again? I mean, is the pump station complete and can the level start rising above that 10-foot construction level or?
So the contract is 1096 for the duration of the contract. But I've already had conversations with Dale and they're open to allowing us to go higher. Over last winter, we did actually go up to 1098 because they weren't there working. At the end of this construction season, the coffer dam should have been cut out. So then the only question is, how far can we go with the dam not completely constructed? And what Dale will allow us to do contractually, but I believe Dale is open to allowing us to go as high as we possibly can without interfering with the safety of the dam or their construction.
So theoretically, if we authorize the pump to be put in, say in November, provided we get the power, we could start filling the reservoir even if things change. At least
no.
we'll have a full reservoir.
What we would do is
We're not
we're
not filling the reservoir with the pump, Jim.
We would take
Well,
less water out of Cooper Lake for the time the pump is going. We could cut Cooper Lake by 2 million.
But we're gonna reduce the amount we're taking there, which would hopefully start filling it up, right?
As long as Ming Hollow is not frozen, we would fill it up, yes.
But we're paying for that new water too from Shokan. So. It's a little bit of making that decision about nature filling it up and us trying to get by versus,
That's right, you
Fine
can throw
water.
the dice.
well. Yeah, I think you have to kind of go month by month or week by week at this point in time and see what the rainfall looks like and see what Cooper Lake's elevation, how it changes. I mean, it's been 7 days with no drop. We got quite a bit of rain and hopefully we'll get more rain. Over the fall. We need the remnants of a good hurricane, I guess.
There is a hurricane, isn't it, coming up the coast? I read about it. I don't know. I read about it. I don't know if it was just over the weekend or something, but there is one that's coming up and they're warning about it hitting New York City. So I could look on my.
Well, at this point in time, I mean, the only decision you're looking for is when do we give authorization this point in time to go get the barge or get the barge installed.
Whatever we need to get the water.
Or option B, which would be for CDM slash the other come up with a price. So
Right, well, I think that's the first thing to do is,
if you need that number,
well,
let's say it's 150,000 to do what May was talking about versus 400. You'll have an idea whether we try to turn it to go.
okay, so I guess my recommendation is we don't authorize the barge at today's meeting, that we do some more research about using pipe and a pump. And we still have to figure out from Central Hudson when they're gonna have power there, because we're still dealing with that. I mean, go ahead and do all that other stuff, but if there's no power there, then I guess in an emergency situation where there was no water, somehow somebody would make a call to Central Hudson and they'd get us power there.
You gotta bring a diesel pump.
Yeah,
That's. Oh, so
So it just says no, it still expects above normal Atlantic hurricane season. Which is, I mean.
there's one forming here outside of Puerto Rico right now, but they're not sure which way it's gonna go.
Yeah, I have to.
70% developed.
I'll have to do some, I read something about, there's one that's, they thought was gonna be coming up the coast, but I don't know when.
That's the one.
Is it that one?
It's 70% developed right now. It's east of Puerto
Do
Rico.
you remember its name?
No, it starts with an F.
Okay.
so is there anything else, Matt?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So the pumping at Cooper Lake, if we get to that point, which currently we're projected to get there in early November, if we get no more rain, to be able to pump into the tower,
Mhm.
we would need to insert a plug into the lower outlet in the tower. And that would require hiring a diver,
So to plug in the existing,
low level reservoir side of the tower.
and that's, what date was that? You said November?
Early November, first week or so, would that start?
If no rain.
If no rain.
And that's basically hiring a diver to go down and do that. I mean,
Yeah, so I have one proposal so far. There's some things that need to be tweaked in that. We're also reaching out to a second diver. And the first quote I have is 35,000 to do that. And my hope would be I can find a diver that has availability or will let us schedule and cancel with 2 weeks notice or so in the event we don't need to do this. So I have to speak with them about timetables for scheduling versus canceling. Because apparently it's not easy to find a diver with availability.
I mean, this one.
I did get a contact from DEP.
Not one time goes to someone else.
Yeah, we'll reach out to for just prices.
you
But that's the first price I've received, so I got that an hour or so.
so you work on that and let us know if we get to a point. We're getting no rain, we'll
But there may be a time before the next meeting where we need to
Right.
schedule that. So
have an emergency meeting for that purpose.
Okay, while we're talking about options here, could somebody explain to me about the Sawkill option and why it is or isn't doable?
Sure. Yeah, so we did look at the shady intake. Ryan and all his guys went up there and we found a valve to open the shady intake into the transmission line. We found the blow off, we opened up the manholes. We went as far as to dig out the opening in the intake, pumped water into the intake and got it through the blow off. Maybe 200 feet from from the opening. So that hadn't been looked at in, I don't know how long, it's been a while. And we had Aero Construction come out, look at it, give us a price to TV it, clean it out. No guarantee it would have worked. And then while we were looking at opening up Reservoir 4, we had another one of our consultants look at the elevation and the differences between Cooper and Shady. And the consensus from CDM Smith was with Cooper Lake running, there's no guarantee it's not going to backfill into the Sawkill and defeat the purpose. So luckily Reservoir 4 has maintained, actually gained elevation, and that seems to be working well. So we kind of moved away from Sawkill for now, but it may be something to look at.
But like a
Figure it
check
out.
valve wouldn't eliminate that or anything
I don't know how we would do
in
that.
the line?
I don't really want to dig that line because it's from 1890
98.
something. I really wouldn't want to expose that for any reason.
Okay,
Anything else? Untitled?
I think that's it.
Okay, move on to Cooper Lake then.
So Cooper Lake, the work is progressing very well. We have encasement of the pipe up and downstream of the tower complete. They began work inside the coffer dam late last week, early this week. So they're excavating there. The meter,
So when you say the work inside the coffer dam, what are they actually,
so they have to excavate for the pipe to run out
okay,
into the actual reservoir. So that work is started. They have the meter chamber is scheduled to be on site end of next week. And the intake building that sits on top of the tower should be on site the week after that.
By when then?
And then they have to install the piping, get everything going, test the valves, and the new supply, hopefully end of October is ready to go online.
So when was that intake building due?
September 28th, 7th, 8th, I think it's
Okay.
scheduled to be delivered.
Good luck.
And then maybe a month to test everything, get it ready, and get the new system online and abandon the old.
You're looking like November 1st, beginning of November, hopefully.
Hopefully. So that's, it doesn't sound like much on the update, but if you actually see it, I mean, every time I go up there, whether it's been a day or 2 days, a week, it's a different site every time, so. The dam is by the spillway, it's about up to the grade it will be at, so. It's something to see, it's quite a bit higher than it was.
Which brings keys
Oh, they're hanging on the hook.
on the hook.
Yeah, I know.
If we wanted to just drive up to just see what's going on, is there just access or is it all like the road closed out
You wouldn't see much without,
with that having? to-
yeah, but if you ever wanna go up there,
Okay. Yeah.
find a time to do that.
Yeah, if you went on a weekend, you couldn't get in to
that's
see.
the only
I mean, you could see from
That's
the
what
west
I
side,
thought. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's all,
That's
there's a
it.
fence with gates and stuff.
But yeah.
Like, walk around now.
yeah.
We
Okay.
do have trespassers up there, so it wouldn't be the first, but
flash your badge there.
Like
You're a water
like
commissioner.
so that's really where they're at with that.
Okay,
It looks more impressive than it sounds.
yeah, well, I remember when Jim and I went up with you.
You wouldn't even recognize it today. So,
Well, maybe I can find the time that. The next week or two, if you're going up there, give me a shout, maybe I can jump in your car and go. We had 2020,
Fortunately, the drought has severely impacted our ability to finish those documents. Because a lot of that would be turning and testing valves.
Mhm.
And that creates a lot of brown, dark, nasty water that would require opening a hydrant to clean it out. And it's not really the best time to be going around the city.
flushing
flushing
hydrants,
and
yeah.
letting it pour out for a period of time, so. We kind of come to a little bit of a standstill with testing those valves to see which ones work or may not work.
And there's no date, time, or anything that we have to be concerned about in order to,
At this point, there's nothing, no deadline that we're being pushed up against.
okay. I mean, we already have that money or that money?
Yes, yeah,
Okay. So all we're looking to do is get
get a contractor.
a contractor, go to bid. Get health department approval for. Work. Or have they already?
Well,
approved?
I mean, they've given the money, so DOH is part of the EFC application. So there may be certain things that they would have to look at, but that grant has already been awarded. and that
Okay.
Financing has already been awarded and closed and. We've gotten disbursements for the CDM portion of the work already.
Okay, right. Tech City,
I did receive a phone call from an engineer out there who's doing some work, Robert Newhart. So he's waiting to nail down some more on the tenants and he's gonna call me back this week or next. So there's that. The bills are still being paid. That's,
we don't know who, if they've. Closed on,
he told me that this engineer said that they were closing on the county parcel. I don't know when or if it's happened. But
You don't know,
hearing that
you,
for
Bill? You
3
haven't
months,
heard any-
so
Bill, have you heard anything about the county closing on that other parcel?
No, I talked to Jim Figley, actually, I talked to him last week. I was waiting with him. And he was up in the air about it as well.
Okay, so I guess we'll just kind of. How long has it been going along, right? Oh, 2023 budget.
I don't really have anything to show or discuss, but I just wanted to get it on the agenda kind of. Rather than wait until October, November.
Yeah, what's
Get it
kind of our
on the
normal
kind of-
time frame from the
I
past?
think the last couple of years it's been November. We've done it. And my first year was December, but we started looking at it. Preliminary or rough drafts. I don't know, if we want to do a meeting. We usually do that separate meeting. We want to step something now. We want to what but we have a lot of things are still up in the air. Like we have nothing from night shift on insurance. So I mean, that's a big piece. It always is, but we usually have to take a guess at it. By the time they give us the premiums, it's too late anyway. I just figured I would put it on the agenda to get it on everybody's radar.
Well, when do we normally have our meeting? In October or November?
I feel like last year, I think maybe we had a draft or something in October to like,
We had a budget meeting on December 1st last year.
and then we set up a special meeting.
So if you could get us the
Maybe
rough draft at next month's meeting, and we could set something, I mean, that. I think we give us a couple weeks to look at it, we could even set something up. In 1st of November or whatever. That's a whole
Yeah.
month ahead of last year.
And last year we were doing weren't we doing the contract? Or, I don't know, I felt like there was a reason why I was later last
So
year.
there was union negotiations. But it was the contract expired at the end of last year. But, so I mean, I just figured I'd put it on, I really don't have anything to show right now. It was October the year before, so.
Okay, so yeah, why don't we shoot?
In November 20th, year before that. So I mean, we still have time. I just wanted to kind of mention it to everybody that we're looking at it. We're starting to work on drafts.
Okay, so we'll shoot for the October meeting, have a. Preliminary draft budget. to Look at, and we'll set up a workshop after that to. Kick it around and. Correspondence.
I'm sorry, was there anything on our SCADA support?
Oh,
I
yeah,
forgot to take that off.
it was a leftover from last week. We're all, that was when you approved the contract with CDM to, so. Correspondence?
I have nothing.
Okay, superintendent's report. A couple of questions. So we had quite a few meters or counts. August 11th. Is that correct?
I believe so. I can
Okay,
double check
it seems
that.
like, we have 18 for the year and 11 in that 1 month. I don't, is there any reason why there were like so many new accounts in the
Something I
month
can
of
think of
August?
offhand.
And it could have been a couple of months, depending on when he got the paperwork. So it could have all
Okay.
ended up in August, when it was like in June, July.
Well, okay, just, I'm looking for the year at 18 and looking for the
Yeah.
month of 11 and just
It was,
3/4 of them were,
So
2/3 of them were on 1 month. Okay.
where we were.
And explain again. Frozen meter, the difference between frozen meters and stocked meters? Do you know, or is, and,
frozen is, it freezes over the winter and breaks. Stopped is, everything looks fine, but it's just not reading consumption.
oh, okay. So we continue to get, I mean, it looks weird that we're
It does.
in August getting, frozen meters. That's August. You figured that you would have picked that up and done something with that in the second.
You gotta wait till the people call.
Oh, so
Yeah,
that's
we
all
don't-
it is. Yeah, they're just like, they just never.
Either they're summer
Okay.
homes or vacant
I see.
homes, vacant properties,
Okay.
but we have no way of knowing if the You just froze them.
So they.
But if it's frozen, you're not getting any,
You can get a reading,
You can't,
you'll get the same reading over and over, and then, you know, that's a minimum rate, which then we send them out to say why it's minimum, is it vacant property? And so if it comes back as it's vacant, then the reading makes sense. But you won't know that it's frozen unless you get in. Or somebody turns water on and starts coming.
coming out of them.
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, if someone. If it's frozen, you shouldn't be getting any read.
Nope,
So I mean,
well,
you,
you'll get a reading. But it'll just.
it's the same reading that you had
Yeah,
the previous
yeah,
2 quarters or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
for following back. And so after a quarter or 2 of the same reading, then you tell distribution to go out and
well,
find out what's going on. Okay, it's just,
you don't, you know, you don't go in, you just go, is it vacant?
yeah,
And if it's vacant, then
then you come back and say, well, the house is vacant, there's no one there, there's no water being used, it's legitimate. And they get a, whatchamacallit, the minimum bill. But if you go there and the house is occupied and you sit there and say,
you take it in.
yeah, so then you make arrangements with the tenant or the owner. That's the only ones I have. Oh. Yeah, that's my only 2 questions. Guess I'll accept the motion, accept the superintendent's report,
I'll make the motion.
and a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
How you coming over there, Patrick, with the?
We're nearly done.
Okay,
Someone.
I'll have to teach him that he can do it quicker somehow.
You have some questions, I'm all set then.
Okay. Executive session?
Yes, we have the,
You have an issue here with respect to a request from. Golden Hill Development. I'd like to discuss that with you from a legal standpoint.
Okay. So I need a motion to go in executive session.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, carried. Okay, we'll need a motion to come out of executive session, right? Okay, and your motion to come out of executive session?
I'll make a motion to come out of executive.
This has all been approved. Now, the wording-
Yeah. Is there a
I'll second.
second? Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
so we received a request from Suke Hill and Planning Office regarding the Golden Hill development for the housing. And we prepared the letter in response to that, to go before the planning board,
Okay,
the board. So it'll go over to planning tomorrow.
all right, and that meeting, their meeting is when?
I believe it's Monday.
Monday? It's coming Monday. Okay,
But the board has proposed a letter of response.
right, no, we
Sent by
stand,
the president of the board.
correct,
You're going to next that to a copy. of the minutes.
okay.
Okay.
Let's jump back to the last thing, the presentation of bills and accounts.
You have some questions, I have some that I would sign off on. If you have some questions, how would you like to address? We want to address.
I guess you can address them,
We got
Matt, real quick.
Or. There's a US.
So this one, this we refill it, so this just shows our balance drops, we refill it, so when we get return posted, we'll talk, takes it out of the account, deposit into that account.
Okay,
That's why you don't see 25.
okay,
Anywhere, wasn't answer your question.
yes, that's that one.
So this one is-
Some of that. Is that, I see the next down here.
So there was probably a check that was sent out. This check was already paid. So instead of 14. it was 6. Something.
That's the expense, okay.
Yeah, so that's why the amount here doesn't match, because we know that we've already sent payment, they just haven't received it yet.
Okay,
So we're not paying what they're telling us that we owe, they're
Okay.
paying us.
Here you ready. Reference ED, that's all.
This one. That was,
No, that,
that's kind of the same deal where
so the thing, not,
that was probably another payment somewhere in here, so that was
so the current charge that I see here.
paid in another check, so we're only paying.
So I think that, okay,
It's crossing and paying paper checks versus.
I do not see that particular one.
So that's. So they give us a deposit and they use a certain amount of water, and then we give them back.
Okay, so it's not gonna, okay. Oh, I saw this on the purchase order, I didn't see any.
Yeah, so we do multiple, so he signs off on that based on tickets,
Okay, that's right,
rather than doing things like having a bunch of. Stable.
okay,
Some of those tickets.
yeah, but I was fine with that, then I might do what. So 104, here, it's 104 over there, then a reference.
Did receive everything. Got it, went delivered,
Okay,
so the difference is $72, so we only received 506.
right, so but if we're
We're
paying,
only paying for receipts. Instead of what was delivered.
okay,
Based
well,
on the order.
I'm still seeing a discrepancy there, 104.42, which is what looks like what was paid. But if it was 104 plus 360, which I know was.
The other one was pulled out, so we paid the 104.4 and not the 144. Yeah, so there should have been two together, and only the one that paid, so we have to pull the other. Yeah. 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 That's the same as the hydrant. We checked it, so it's a hydrant.
So yeah, say, give us a deposit, if you give exactly what it is to use. So they gave us 2,500. based on
Not worried about
water
the
they
buy.
use.
They can provide.
Yeah, so that's what you were saying. So it's like a negative, so we.
Oh, okay,
Can they?
it's not a credit.
No, it's a yeah.
Whatever certification.
This is what we struggle with. That's what it's. We can supply the water, but the question is who's providing the method of distribution and billing. Billing, I think, duties was with the.
Yeah,
That's,
should I?
the permit is way down.
Return roads.
That's what I would rather build here and let them take it off wherever they want. You know, you have this much pressure, this much water here, that's sufficient, you guys good.
Safety work. We do it the same way as.
It would be.
It's gonna be a way to mark that crossing. So in that.
Got a match meter?
But it's within the city limits. Tech cities outside.
Is it any different? Apartment complex that might
And
build?
you could never turn the system off.
Quickly?
Couldn't turn it off. I don't think so. But it's just, I don't know. Hope that never happened.
Oh, we can turn an individual one. Well,
I think
failure to pay.
all those pipes are on. Water. So they have a break out there. You have to go and fix it.
It's their responsibility, it's their water system.
That's what was. They have water. Maybe I misunderstood.
Well, I think only from the point of view that they're paying us. That goes back to, they're paying us $50,000 for what?
Well, I thought it was just like the operable source.
Yeah, it's true. It's not for us to maintain a distribution system.
But I just asked why. Who maintains the pipelines?
Yeah, well,
The hydrant.
I'll have to go back and make that recess.
I couldn't find it.
Agreement for the $50,000 a year. from 2004. Well, we need to
There
go
was
back.
74. I wasn't part of that.
2000.
70.
You know, it's.
We had,
We actually had.
I think, take it back.
That is.
I remember
Look at.
we're still on.
In that event. Yeah. Actually, I decided. In the grants were actually focused at the eight. Okay. Okay. That was it.
But this is easy, can you got
Okay, so. After answering questions. Do we have a motion to accept the bills and accounts as presented?
I'll
Make the motion.
Good.
Second.
I'll second it.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Is there anything else then? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so moved. Thank you.